Stronger than I once was, but I'm not talking push-ups. I'm doing this mentally so they don't vanish me.
What up, YouTube? Survivalist News. We're going to start out over here at counterpunch.org. This article is from March 8, 2019, so a year and a month ago. So you can see this has been planned, what's going on in Venezuela. We'll get into things like how this coronavirus syncs up with probably another invasion of a country for oil and for drugs. Just like 9/11, it was for oil, drugs, and control of more people, more control of the world, own more land, put more military bases up. So that's what we'll get into. I'm not going to read this whole article, but I'll leave the links in the description box of every article that we go through. But this article is a very good one. If you want to read the whole thing, it pretty much lays out CIA operations that they've pulled against Maduro already. How they tried to set him up in the drug trade, talking about him being in the drug trade. Now he's, got charges against him in the U.S. on the drug trade. But we'll get into that. The relentless U.S. imperial beast has embarked on a full-scale, openly declared bipartisan regime change war aimed at overthrowing Venezuela's democratically elected government headed by Nicolas Maduro. Top U.S. officials from President Donald Trump, Vice President Mike Pence, National Security Advisor John Bolton, and Special Envoy Elliot Abrams of Iran-Contra infamy, to Democratic House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, of course, and pretend socialist Bernie Sanders almost daily take to the airwaves, with the world's corporate media cheering in lockstep, insisting that all options are open, including overt war via direct U.S. military intervention. Sanders demanded that Venezuela open its borders to humanitarian aid, while DSA Democrat AOC, I hate even saying her name, I won't say that. I'm just going to say that Boston shirt. The picture over in that Boston shirt. That was a nice one. While DSA Democrat Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez waffled on the issue. Well, that's all I'll read of that. But we'll get back to it. Just go read this. A lot of great information in there. Okay, but anyway. We'll talk about the humanitarian aid. So what about the sanctions? The sanctions that's been put on Venezuela through this coronavirus, right? Okay, so Trump deploys Navy in waters near Venezuela, escalating campaign against Nicolas Maduro. And in his coronavirus press briefing today, he had strong words about the Navy being there in Venezuela. So, is it just a coincidence that the drug trade, they was ramping it up once the coronavirus started over there in Venezuela? Don't you think major drug traffickers would know that the sea would be more monitored in a situation where there's no travel, that criminals would take advantage of that? I mean, if you're a fucking big time drug trader, selling you got tons of coke, right? Tons of fucking coke, so you know what you're doing. You're not gonna make that mistake. Do you think people in Chicago right now, do you think they're out fucking slinging pounds and shit right now, slinging ounces, doing whatever they fucking do? No, they're not doing that. They're too smart. They know they're being watched. So that should be a clear, clear evidence that this was all set up. It was all set up for regime change in Venezuela. If they can't get him on the charges, which it says, he will most likely not be arrested on the charges, but they have brought in people on drug charges in America like El Capo. But we'll get into a little bit of this article. The Justice Department unsealed criminal charges against Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and other regime heavies on Thursday in connection with alleged narco-terrorism and drug smuggling into the United States. Attorney General William Barr announced the charges at the Justice Department at Washington with some official in attendance and others connected via teleconference, precautions taken because of the coronavirus pandemic. The charges involve 15 defendants, including Maduro and other political and military leaders in Venezuela. The regime is a cesspit of corruption, Barr alleged, as a strongman and his lieutenants have abetted smuggling, and Barr said laundered money for drug traffickers. In defense of the charges, the Justice Department officials defended the decision to charge a foreign head of state and government leaders because, among the other reasons, they said Maduro and the others had broken U.S. law, putting the matter squarely within the power of the department. Barr also observed that Washington does not consider Maduro to be Venezuela's rightful president. What did they do in Syria? So in Syria, they did the exact same thing with Assad. They didn't recognize Assad to be the rightful president or rightful leader. In Syria, he wouldn't get out, so what did the United States do? They ramped up the war measures and they punished him. They punished the people. They punished the people through military action and the people through military sanctions. NATO. Everybody involved in NATO. It's not just American troops. I mean, it's ISIS that are contractors through the Defense Department, through MI5, MI6, through George Soros funded things, through the Rothschilds, through the Clinton Foundation, and this is all proven. Okay, they will send their fucking proxy militaries in there and punish you if they don't want you there. They don't recognize you, so they say, fuck it, we're going to invade you and make you pay for it. And that's what they're going to do with Venezuela. I wouldn't be surprised to see a bombing of Venezuela, and, maybe soon, maybe within the next couple months. It's hard to put a timeline on these things, but they are ramping it up on Venezuela and calling it a war on drugs when really it's a war on Maduro, just like a war on Assad and Syria. We'll get back into it. He also said that making the announcement in a Justice Department headquarters emptied out for the coronavirus crisis was a coincidence of timing. Is this really a coincidence of timing? Let's go back here. That's why this article is so important. March 8th, 2019. It goes through all kinds. Protests. This is why we must mobilize to demand U.S. out now, end the sanctions, hands off Venezuela. President Trump's most determined thrust toward war was set for Saturday, February 23rd, 2019, Colombian border town of Cucuta, I think that's how you pronounce it, and at a manufacturing site at a Brazilian border where U.S. financed and orchestrated humanitarian aid. The humanitarian aid is probably the white helmets that we just seen Bernie Sanders said that they're blocking it. So they're blocking this humanitarian aid because they know what it is. It's war. It's famine. It's war against the people. It's more sanctions. It's more control. U.S. financed and orchestrated humanitarian aid convoys attempted to force their way into Venezuela without success. The move was thwarted by Bolivian National Guard forces and thousands of Venezuelan workers, peasants, and youth who blockaded the various bridges leading into the country. See, they have already been trying to invade Venezuela and get Maduro out. Now they have the charges against Maduro. Are they going to go get him? Like they went and got Saddam Hussein? They've done it twice already. What makes you think they won't do it again? But why are they really doing this? Venezuela holds that many, was that 300 billion? We'll say 300 billion barrels of proven oil reserves as of 2016, ranking first in the world and accounting for about 18.2% of the world's total oil reserves. Of, I guess, 1.6 trillion barrels. Venezuela has proven reserves equivalent to 1,374.2 times its annual consumption. See, that is why, it's not because of drug trade, it's because of the oil, and it's also because of drug trade, and they're going to take over the cocaine trade. We already know the CIA is heavily involved in the drug trade, the cocaine trade, just like J.P. Morgan. They're all in it together. All the banksters. If you do not bow to their policies, they got you. And they're going to take you over. It's war, or you're going to bow down and take it up the ass again. So, they're going to take more control of the cocaine trade. They have the opium trade in Afghanistan. They have all the oil in the Middle East, pretty much. What they don't have, Israel has. And now, they're going to take over the world's largest oil reserves. So yeah, this coronavirus is going to kill a lot of people. It's going to kill millions of people. Not because the virus itself, which is pretty much non-existent unless you got tested for it, which the tests were contaminated, you'll get it that way. Or if you got a vaccine that's supposed to help you, that flu shot, maybe that flu shot put that in you. Maybe, they vaccinated people at the retirement homes with it. Or maybe they're just fucking up the numbers like the video I posted yesterday, or 2 days ago, whenever it was. Calling everything coronavirus. But the point is, millions will die from the starvation, from the wars, from the social distress that they're causing, from whatever they're going to bring. It's not going to be because of the virus itself. It's going to be about the fallout and what they're doing behind the scenes, like starting another perpetual war for oil and part of the drug trade, while collapsing the world economy, put military on the streets. They're doing all this shit. Gonna shoot you up with the vaccines. Like I said in the last video, the ones that survive it is gonna have 5G, and we'll see what happens from there. Okay, well, might be back a little bit later. If not, have a good night, YouTube.